Thank you, Governor. And I'm glad that we've got, kind of figuring out what the nature of the problem is might be the easy part. So you gave me the, what's the solution? So 7 minutes, I think I can come up with the solution to the problem. But obviously, the speakers that have gone before me have done an outstanding job, really outlining where we are now. And so what I'm going to do is really zip through some slides here, and I apologize to move beyond them to get to the slides I really want to talk about. These are the 4 questions that I want to discuss. I'm really going to linger on the last 2. What are China's objectives? And actions do speak louder than words, I would suggest. And I think we need to think through what China's objectives are if we're going to come up with a solution or some type of strategy to deal with that. And so I'll go to what's next. So I'm going to move fairly quickly through slides to discuss the things that we've already discussed before and get to this first thing. Now, I teach at the Naval War College in Newport, Rhode Island. Everything I say here is my own personal opinion. It doesn't reflect the views of the Department of Defense, the Department of the Navy. I know you've all heard those disclaimers. But this is where I live. This is who I teach. I teach flag officers and senior officers that go out to our numbered fleets and work what we call the operational level. So the way we view the world is we're the M in the dime field. It's diplomatic, informational, military, economic, financial, intelligence, and legal. Those are the tools at the strategic level, the toolkit to accomplish your objectives. We reside at the operational level. We like to think that we have a phasing construct where we're trying to shape the environment here in the South China Sea so that we don't have to get to a crisis type situation. We get to deterred, and that's what we have to do. We have various theater campaign plans and security plans to try to work with regional partners, and you see us doing that across the Asia-Pacific region. Things like trying to get base access, conducting multiple exercises with many of the nations in the region, foreign military sales, at the end of the day trying to increase capability, capacity, and interoperability. With the Chinese in particular, people are not aware we've had extensive military relationships with them over the past few years, to include the exchange of our senior naval officers here recently. We conducted port visits in each other's nations. We had a Chinese ship come to Hawaii soon. We've negotiated agreements to eliminate the possibility of miscalculation in the air or at sea, and obviously we're going to conduct FONOPs here in the near future, at least according to the open press. So that's how we view the world. The question for the operational level of war, or operational level, is, so what's the strategy? Anything we do has to nest with the strategic strategy. I'll make a provocative argument here. I think Bonnie touched on it. I'm not so sure we have a strategy, or at least a cohesive, synchronized, integrated strategy. So, again, move forward. Actions speak louder than words. What are China's objectives? And I think our second speaker started to get to it. Here are some of the things you're seeing coming out of the press from very senior leadership in China. So these are the words that you hear. No freedom of navigation for warships and airplanes. That's a direct challenge to U.S. Vital interests. And you see down here at the bottom even more provocative statements. It's a slap in the face. We will inflict pain if we have to, and those types of statements. So, where does that take us? And so here's the actions speak louder than words. We've seen timetables. I couldn't put everything up here on one slide, but at the end of the day, you can probably divide what China has been doing into 3 categories over time. Initially, when Mao took over, it's an island reclamation campaign. Sever sovereignty. Take those islands that are historically ours. And then we have an operational pause in the late 1990s and in the 2000s. Focus more on regional integration. Focus on economics. And focus on integrating your own economy with other nations' economies. Massive buildup of their military capabilities, especially their maritime capabilities, their Navy, their surface missiles. So during that strategic pause, that's what they're doing. And now we see in 2007, absolutely turning back over to competition. Competition in that environment for sovereignty. Is it about resource control? Is it about enhanced security? Is it about both? I want to come back to this slide here only because it shows a picture we haven't seen before. We talk about the first island chain, the second island chain, the near seas as the Chinese referred to it. I think you can make a strong argument that what China's trying to do now is assert control over the near seas, and they've actually started to discuss, as we pointed out earlier, having a blue water navy that has the capability to assert power elsewhere, out to the second island chain, and wherever they need to. They conducted a non-combatant evacuation out in Yemen. They're talking about a base in Djibouti, and so they are going to do those types of things. So what I really kind of linger on, this is what I was asked to do, solve the problem here in a few minutes. But as far as the way ahead, I think my argument, and you could argue that it's provocative, I don't think the United States has a cohesive strategy to deal with China as a whole. And the United States Department of Defense just recently released, I don't know if anybody's had a chance to see it yet, the Asia Pacific Maritime Security Strategy. So there it is in all its glory. But my question is, it's hard to see here, is the dying pill and these lines of effort to achieve our strategic objectives, is this in alignment with the other aspects of national power? It claims in here that there was discussions between the interagency to come up with it. I'm not so sure that's the case. So where do we go from here? I come back to, before you have a strategy, what are China's objectives? And again, I'll be provocative. I'm with maybe the second speaker. I think China has every intention to assert control and sovereignty over the entire South China and East China Sea. Those bases are going to be militarized. They're going to put anti-submarine warfare, reconnaissance, strike fighter aircraft. They're going to enhance their capability to do reconnaissance, anti-submarine warfare. They're going to make it much more difficult for anybody to enjoy or assert freedom of navigation through those vital areas. I believe that that's what their intention is. So the question is, how do you deal with that? I think Bonnie brought up some good points about how you can potentially work with other nations that have similar interest in freedom of navigation in the area. But I guess what I'm really trying to suggest is we need to have a cohesive whole-of-government effort. We need to re-examine and re-look at what the assumptions are. Hope is not an option. You can't hope that people in China are going to turn around and someday, maybe be back away from things they're doing. It's a great idea, and we should work towards it and try to keep up those exchanges to the extent possible. We're going to continue to do all our military-to-military exchanges with the Chinese to try to be transparent, build trust, build relationships, but I don't think it's going to work in their term at all. And so we need to rethink those assumptions and then come to a conclusion, what is the nature of the relationship we want with China? This is going to be a competitive environment. Get used to it. It's the new normal. So how do we deal with China in that competitive environment in a way that doesn't lead to all-out conflict? And that is really where we're at. Our national interest in freedom of navigation is now butting up against Chinese core interests. And the question then is, how are we going to deal with it? I come back to this last bullet. Other nations in the region have said, well, the United States is important and China is important. And interestingly enough, our folks at our State Department have suggested they don't intend this to be a zero-sum game. Either choose us or choose them. But and I apologize if I put my glass on here. The former foreign minister from Singapore recently said he's not sure if we have the luxury of space as we have in the past to be friendly to everyone. In the next few years, because of competition, they as major powers, as they are wont to do, will soon be talking in terms of either us or them. You're either with us or you're against us. Hopefully it doesn't come down to that, but that is absolutely where certain people think we're going to be. South Koreans are here now to have these discussions. We just talked to the Australians. The Chinese president, U.S. president, will be in Vietnam in November. So we'll see how this plays out. But we come back to, what are these objectives in this guessing game we're playing with respect to ambiguity, how they react to these spot-offs, how they react to this court case about jurisdiction, and how they deal with the folks in Vietnam, I think are going to tell the tale. And at the end of the day, I think people are fooling themselves if they don't think this is going to be a very competitive environment in the near and midterm. It's going to be the problem we're going to have to deal with. So maybe Governor Webb had it right the other night. I don't know. But anyway, that's hopefully provocative. That's not what I necessarily came to say, but that's what I said. So thank you, Governor.
Thanks, Justin. So I suppose one of the questions is competitive about what and for what? But it's not a ball game. Interesting. Okay, we don't have an awful lot of time. We've got 4 or 5 speakers that we want to hear from before we wrap up. So I'm going to ask Elliot Salway, who's been one of our regulars, to come up and talk for just a few minutes. And Tom Patterson, who's one of the founders of this forum. We're going to go to Brent Colburn, to Grand Road, and finally to my colleague, Susanna. And we're going to wrap up. So, Elliot, a few quick minutes.
Okay.